This Multimatic 220 is the best first welder, and this is why. Nowadays, there are a lot more options when you're buying a welder. It's no longer just a choice between red or blue. You have companies like ESAB, PrimeWeld, and Everlast coming out and making some pretty good machines. But there's a couple things about this one in particular that sets it apart from those. Let me show you what I mean. I bought this welder 3 years ago barely knowing how to MIG weld. But it was the perfect machine to grow into because of its DC and AC TIG welding capabilities, which most other machines don't have. Now, I could have just bought a single process MIG welder, but I knew eventually I'd want a TIG weld. This machine being an AC and DC, which means that I can weld aluminum, which is super handy in the automotive field because you can weld on aluminum intakes and bell housing ears. The utility of that really can't be overstated. This machine has 8 different processes. Now, I'll admit that I haven't used all of them, but if I ever need the rest, they're there. Another feature that's handy for beginner welders is the auto set feature. You indicate what size wire you're using and what thickness of material you're welding, and it gives you a range of settings for you to use. Now, this isn't something that I would recommend you heavily rely on, but it can be useful for those just starting out. Out of the box, you get a MIG whip, a ground clamp, a stinger, a TIG torch, a foot pedal, some various TIG welding consumables, and a couple of gauges. Miller also includes a 120 and a 240 volt plug. So if your shop doesn't have 240 yet, you could still use this welder, which is pretty useful if you're just starting out. All of this means nothing if the welder can't do its job. We're gonna do a T-joint on steel, some TIG welding on steel, and also aluminum. So let's fire this thing up. I'm gonna start with this 1/4 inch thick T-joint. I'm using the auto set feature to showcase that. This was me just running a couple passes here. This thing welds nice, man. It's so smooth. All right, next I'm gonna show you guys some TIG welding on some regular steel. This is just using the auto set features, nothing crazy going on with my settings. I've got it propped up on this big steel tube to help make it easier for me to see. And I'm just full pedal pretty much the whole time. Now, you're definitely not going to get as smooth of an arc as you are on a transformer machine, but you can't really expect that. For what it does, hey man, I'd say that's pretty good. Now we're going to start welding some aluminum. This is just 1/8 inch thick aluminum. This was just a piece that I was practicing patting beads on. Now, I'm certainly not the best aluminum welder by any means, but this machine really does a good job of hiding that fact. Now, what's nice about this machine is you can adjust your balance and your frequency to really dial in TIG welding on aluminum. This machine also does have pulse control settings, so if you are somebody that wants to mess around with using pulse settings, you can do that on this machine. Now, personally, I don't really do a whole lot of pulse TIG welding. Then again, if I need it, it's there. Now, I've been using this welder the last few years now, and to be honest, it's really one of the smoothest inverter machines I've ever used. But like everything, it has its downsides. First of all, the elephant in the room, the price. This thing comes in at a whopping $4,300, which I know can sound like a lot, especially for your first welder. Which, if you think about it, it's pretty similarly priced compared to its competitors like ESAB and Lincoln. ESAB has a 305 AC/DC multiprocess machine, which comes in at like $4,200 or so. So this one coming at $4,300 really isn't that big of a difference. And as far as Lincoln goes, I'm pretty sure they don't even have a multi-process AC/DC machine. Now, aside from that, let's get into some of the things that I don't like so much. The first thing is the stick welding. While it is functional, it's not great. I've used it probably a handful of times. The biggest downfall when it comes to stick welding this machine is the fact that it can't run rods. And that's because it doesn't have enough open current voltage, whatever that even means. So if you're going to do a lot of stick welding, I'd probably get a different machine. Now I have to say the worst part about this Multimatic 220 is the TIG torch. Now I know some guys will complain about the MIG whip or they'll complain about other things, but to me the TIG torch is really the worst part of this package. For me personally, where my hand grabs onto on the torch, it's too big. So I don't feel like I have a ton of control. My hands are too small to get a good grip around the whole torch. The other thing is this protective cover that goes over top, it doesn't like lock into place. So straight out of the box, this handle like rotates back and forth. I don't know why they would do that because you have zero control unless you hold the torch like all the way up here. So that really is one of the things that I really despise about this. That being said, it's pretty easily fixed with a piece of electrical tape. And honestly, if you wanted a smaller handle, you could probably get a smaller piece of a plastic tube and wrap it around there and electrical tape that. But I've just been kind of suffering with the big handle for me. Another thing to consider is the fact that it is 7 years old. So who knows when Miller will come out with an updated machine that will probably have more features than this one does. But what I can speak for today is the fact that I've had this thing for years now and it hasn't let me down. So comment down below, guys, what your first welder was. Let me know if you think this is a good choice or if you think it's complete crap. Make sure you like and subscribe to follow along what I'm going to be doing next. And until then, adios.